My name is Lloyd Ramsey. I'm responding to your response. I do have to say, I uploaded a video, I don't know if you saw it, in reply, and it was really too quiet because I had gotten off work at 11:30 at night, um, and everybody was asleep, and I didn't want to wake them up. So it was really quiet, and I watched the video, and I couldn't hear a word I was saying. So I'm going to redo this without any notes or any cards with anything written on it whatsoever. I'm going to try to go off of memory of what you reviewed. I do remember, however, that you have the separation of church and state completely backwards. It's not about the state, the state running the church. That's not what it was for. It was not just for the state running the church. It was for the church running the state. And it's not specifically a church. It means religion in general. Should have nothing to do with law, but yet it does. And this is my problem. One thing, churches get tax exemption and they do not have to prove where their money goes like every other company does. Um, this gives you this gives churches subsidized free money that puts them in an advantage beyond belief. The people receiving this money, i.e., the pastors, do not have to pay taxes on anything that they get through the church, but they still get Social Security, retirement, and whatever retirement comes with their pastoral years of service. That's a problem. The First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, and that is what that is. Religious people have taken away permanently, as far as it goes now, the lottery in my state, which is Alabama. This is because I'm religious, okay? Homosexuals getting married, which is going to bring me to my next point about your misquotes of Leviticus 18 and Genesis about the Sodom and Gomorrah thing. I have to say about your homosexual references in the reference, I guess you could say references in the Bible. If you want to go by Leviticus and Deuteronomy, that's fine with me. But you would have to admit none of it's moral. Because if you look in Leviticus, what else is in Leviticus is the rules for owning slaves. It tells you can beat them. If you are in debt, you can sell your daughter to slavery. I don't know if you have children, ma'am, but if you were deeply in debt, would you think it would be right to sell your daughter to slavery knowing she would never ever be free the rest of her life, just so you can pay off your debt? This is what they did back in these times, and God was okay with it. The homosexuality was another rule back then. It was called an abomination not because it was morally incorrect, but because it messed with the way life functioned. Procreation was an extremely important thing during this time in society because the population was not near as big as it is now. So it was a really bad thing in a historical context for you not to make babies with someone. And abomination it's just, if you've ever eaten pig, you've committed abomination in your own Bible. In that same book, you cannot eat pork. You cannot eat certain kinds of birds. You cannot put two seeds in one hole in the ground. These are all rules that you shouldn't go by if you call yourself a Christian. These are the laws of Moses. But what about the New Testament? What does Jesus himself say about homosexuality? Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. He does not say one word about it, except um, before I go into the New Testament, let's go to your misrepresentation and how so many Christians misrepresent Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah, we know, is about a story where God wanted to know if Lot was still holy, even though God should have known. He sent two angels into the land where Lot lived with his wife and two daughters. Um, well, these two angels, Sodom and Gomorrah wanted to rape the angels. This is a lot different from a loving homosexual relationship. If you would really think about it, I would hope that you wouldn't be as stupid as to say that raping angels is the same thing as loving another male or female. But here's the dilemma. Ezekiel says that the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was arrogance. It was not homosexuality. They did not commit. It never mentioned that abomination. in Ezekiel when it was talking about why Sodom was destroyed. First of all. Second of all, do you think it is more moral uh, for Lot to have offered up his own daughters for sex objects? If you think that's moral, something's wrong, because that's exactly what he did. He said, "No, no, I have two daughters here. They're virgins. You should mate with them. What about them?" And they said, "No, no, we don't want the virgins. We want men. We want angels. We want angels." That's completely sounds like mythology. So anyways, everything was destroyed, and then Lot went with his two daughters into a cave and had sex with both of them. Really, you're saying that for a man to lay with a man and a woman to lay with a woman, that is immoral, but it's okay for a man to go in the cave and sleep with his daughters. Moving further into the New Testament. Um, before I go any further than this, you keep saying that the Bible is a sword, and all Christians say the Bible is a sword. And what you fail to realize is it does not cut any atheist. Um, I was a Christian before. I was extremely passionate in my lifestyle. I went by what I read extremely strictly. I couldn't set my alarm clock to the right time without asking God if that was okay. This is where I was, and this is where I am now, and there's several reasons for this. But you also have to remember that your own Bible says, "Those who live by the sword die by the sword." It does no atheist any good, and this is what I don't understand. If you argue with a religious or Christian person, they will bring the Bible into it. That doesn't make any sense. If I was Muslim and you were Christian and I wanted to convert you, I would not use the Quran. Okay? That would be pointless to you because the Quran means nothing to you. This is what you're trying to do. There's no logic, there's no reason behind it. You're using the Bible, which I do not believe in. Going to Jesus being confronted by a homosexual in Luke chapter 7. Jesus was confronted by a Roman centurion, which had many soldiers. He also had a little sex slave. That was a boy. All Romans that were of any importance back then had these. They had a wife, they had children, and they had a little boy. That was their sex slave. They were to provide extra sexual favors for them. This man, however, loved his sex boy slave. So he comes to Jesus and he says that he's sick, he's dying, or whatever, and he needs to be healed. Did Jesus say you have to repent and turn away from him first? No. Did he say I'm not going to do that until you're straight? No. Did he say you should be put to death because that's an abomination? No, he did not. He said, go home, he's healed, in greater faith. He hasn't seen greater faith in all of Israel. So you have a man that is in love with another male that they're having sex with. He goes to Jesus about it. Assuming Jesus actually existed, you would absolutely have to admit that Jesus has no problem with it. So neither should you. And that's my problem. In order for you to tell someone how they live their lives, like in that nature, you had better give me a good reason. And belief is not good. You don't have proof for the things, because that's why it's called faith. I would appreciate it in the next video if you would actually put some sort of uh, reasoning behind it, some sort of logical uh, pattern behind the whole thing, because running into the Bible, that's fine. That's fine with me. So I guess I'm gonna have to end this with a question. Convince me that Jesus ever existed in history. You have all your work ahead of you.